I love that term, dedicated and committed and devoted, because I do feel that way. I do feel like I'm devoted to my family, but I'm also dedicated to growing this business. And I feel like I can see that reflected in saying, like, today, kids, hey, I have a big thing I'm working on and I love you, but I have to focus on this because I've been, splitting my attention the last few weeks, versus like, all right, I'm going to put this work aside. And like, just the other day, I was like, I got back home from an appointment and I was like, hey, y'all, like, I know I've been busy and doing all kinds of things. Let's sit and just watch a movie together, and just taking that time to do that. So I really do like that term. And I want to express to other moms, parents who are also growing their business, that you can do both things. You just have to be really strategic about it. It's not always going to look the same every day. And you're going to find that some weeks you're going to get more accomplished in your business than others.
Well, Ria, I am so excited to have you here. I know I say this, but like, my client episodes are my favorite episodes. And so I'm so excited to have you here and to be able to highlight what you do and how you support women. And really, the conversation you and I just talked about was like how you can scale your business without having a large team, which I think is so important. I know a lot of times people will come to me, they're like, I can't afford a large team. Like, I can't afford these people. Like, I'm stuck and I'm limited in my business because of that. And so excited to kind of break that myth and show women how they can actually build and scale without having to have a ton of people or investing a ton of money in a team. So thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and your journey. Like, how did you get to this place? And
So I am a homeschooling mom of 5 and a military spouse. And I recently, joined the League of Entrepreneurs when I felt like I was kind of in a place and had the capacity to finally stop putting myself on the back burner and really pursue some of the things that I had been wanting to do. Of course, through things like your cycle advantage and just really leveraging my cycle and the flow and the rhythm that comes with that. Has really kind of helped me to build my business in a way that is intuitive and doesn't just make me feel more exhausted, because, I have 5 kids, but, and more exhausted, and just really build it in a way that's sustainable for me and my life and my family. Instead of feeling like I'm always being pulled in a million directions and not thriving and being successful in either area.
Yeah. For sure. And I love that you like highlighted a couple things there. Like, one, you have 5 kids. I don't think you said this, but your husband's deployed.
Yeah.
So you are building a business with 5 kids, homeschooling on top of that, with a husband that's deployed. So when people come and they say like, there's not enough time, like they don't have enough time to build their business, like there's just no capacity, that they're juggling a million different things. Like, you have a lot on your plate, and that you're still moving your business forward and you're creating this momentum in your business. And I just want to say, since working with you, it's been amazing to watch your like dedication. And I've kind of been talking and like toying. I saw somebody else use this word devotion instead of using the word consistency, because like consistency gets that idea that like we're having to show up consistently all the time. But I think dedication and devotion are 2 better words that are a little bit more feminine. They feel a little bit more like, but it's that idea that I'm committed to this and I'm going to continue moving forward with it. There's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be some days where I give more and some days when I give less. There's going to be days when I'm like focused more on my family and days when I'm focused more on my business. But at the end of it, I'm dedicated and I'm devoted to seeing this happen. And I think that is something that you really have embodied and resembled. And I just want to acknowledge you for that, because it's been really beautiful to watch that.
Yeah, thank you. And I really do. I do love those words. I love that term, dedicated and committed and devoted, because I do feel that way. I do feel like I'm devoted to my family, but I'm also dedicated to growing this business. And I feel like I can see that reflected in saying, like, today, kids, hey, I have a big thing I'm working on and I love you, but I have to focus on this because I've been, splitting my attention the last few weeks, versus like, all right, I'm going to put this work aside. And like, just the other day, I was like, I got back home from an appointment and I was like, hey, y'all, like, I know I've been busy and doing all kinds of things. Let's sit and just watch a movie together, and just taking that time to do that. So I really do like that term. And I want to express to other moms, parents who are also growing their business, that you can do both things. You just have to be really strategic about it. It's not always going to look the same every day. And you're going to find that some weeks you're going to get more accomplished in your business than others.
Yeah, for sure. There's going to be some weeks that are more business oriented and others that are not. And I think that's the beautiful part of it is like, I know people have talked about this idea of balance, right? Having like business and family balance, and how we talk a lot inside the Flow Collective that it's this not necessarily a balance in the sense that all things are getting equal, but all things have a place and a time that we're giving our
Right.
attention to them. And it doesn't feel like we're trying to do all of them at once. So I love that you even brought up that example too of like, life is going to be busy. Like, I know for a long time I was like, stop using the word busy, but our schedules are full. We're doing a lot of different things. Most women are quote unquote busy. It's a difference of whether or not we feel like we're busy. And I think the intentionality that you even talked about, and like how you said, hey, today's going to be a movie day. I think those moments of intentionality are what take us from this place of feeling like we're in busy mode all the time and that we can't juggle it and then we're overwhelmed and all of these things, and brings it back to creating that coherence and that we feel like I am actually showing up for both of these things. I'm doing them really well. It's because I'm very intentional. And you said strategic with it, right? It's like
Hmm.
bringing those two pieces together that makes the biggest difference.
No, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know one of the ways in which you have done this that has allowed you to do this and like master this is in this idea of creating some systems and creating things that I don't want to say autopilot, but taking out some of the busy work. And I think
Yeah.
that that's one of the big things I see a lot of new entrepreneurs really struggling with. And then entrepreneurs who kind of get capped at a place where they can't grow bigger is because of the systems. And I think every level of an entrepreneur, it's that is really what it is. It's like elevating our systems and elevating those things in the back end that allow us to focus on where our time needs to be best spent
Yeah.
versus spending time on things. And I think a lot of times people think, oh, it just goes to hiring. And I think hiring is a great way. Like, I've hired multiple VAs that have been life changing and life saving for me. But when women come to me and they say, I can't afford to hire somebody right now, I don't have the funds to do that, there's still these systems and these things that they can put in on the back end that are going to help support them. And I actually even just was this last week, I went for a walk with a woman and she said, I love creating connection in my business. I love communicating and I love the heart to heart. I love being like personable and I love all of these things. And she was like, it's the automation in the back end that allows me to still have the time to do that. And I think that was such a beautiful thing to mention too, is because like we talk about these systems and we talk about the strategies and all these automations, that it can feel like maybe we're disconnecting
Mhm.
from this place of the heart to heart connection in the community. But how we can really use it is to grow and scale and also be able to still facilitate that those things that really are valuable and meaningful to us in a way that doesn't leave us feeling like we're just like juggling a million different things. So what are some of the ways that you help women do that that makes such a big difference of like get their time back, allow them to show up in the places in their business they want to be showing up instead of being caught in this busy cycle?
Yeah, absolutely. A huge resource that I like to use is ClickUp. I feel like it is a fantastic platform just to really help you kind of encompass all the elements of your business into one place. And then they have all these really wonderful integrations and automations that are built into it that you can kind of build out and customize to what you're looking for. So you don't have to have like that one size fits all automation. And I agree with you that the automations really can allow you to be more connected with the people in your community and
Yeah.
spend that time and take that time, because you're not having to field things. Like if you get an email from someone, you can automate like a reply back to them and direct them to different spots where they can get help from you when you're in your community, like coaching or just really answering the questions that they're asking you and engaging with those members that you have. I feel like the ClickUp system can make it so that you don't necessarily have to hire a larger team. Like if you're able to hire somebody, you can, and you guys can work together as a team within ClickUp, because it's great for teams, but it also allows you to hand off some of the work that you would have a VA doing into that system so that you're able to just make it work if you're just solopreneuring, like I
Yeah.
am right now. So
Yeah. Well, and I will even like highlight in there, like ClickUp has been amazing. Like I have absolutely loved it, predominantly for the team aspect of being able to communicate with my team and know exactly where everything is happening and what's going on. And I would say between that and Slack, like those are number one at times been like only communicate and ClickUp. Like I want to be able to see it on the task that we're on, but then there's times it's like we have to do it in Slack too. But one of the things that I have started to do that has made and I teach my clients is in like ClickUp or whatever system you're using to put the tasks on there. So like as I'm driving in my car and I'm like, oh, I've got to do that, I'll like throw it as a task into ClickUp. But then I put the cycle phase that would be best aligned with that on there. It's like its own little tagged column so that when, you know, yesterday or today, when I sit down to work and I know like, hey, this is the phase of my cycling in, I can sort by those tags and go, oh yeah, I wanted to record that video, or oh yeah, I wanted to get that thing done. And like those things that are kind of just building up throughout the month that aren't priorities, that don't need to be done right away. And then you sit down to get your work done. And I find, even as best as I am at like productivity and as best as like this is what I teach and help women do, is like I'll sit down at the computer and be like, okay, what am I going to do today? And where am I going to focus today? And what's the most important? And oftentimes what we focus on when we sit down like that is not the most important things. We get caught up in the, like, I love to crunch my numbers. I love to see like how many people have opted in and how many people have converted and like how many people have done this and how many followers I've on. And it's like, this is not the thing that's actually moving the needle in my business, even though I like it. It's like, it gives me that like dopamine hit, that serotonin or whatever it is, like to be like, oh, what are my numbers looking like today?
Right.
But I spend 20, 30 minutes doing the numbers. And then it takes that time away from doing the things that I really need to do to move my business forward. And
That's
so
true.
I'm aware of this and know this. And so I sometimes am better than others at like being like, no, we're not crunching numbers today. We have one day of the week that we crunch numbers and that's it, or whatever. And like what I find is that a lot of women like sit down at the computer and they focus in on the busy work, the things that are not going to actually get anything moved. And so then, especially women that have like tight time crunches, like if we only have 2 hours while kids are napping, or we only have time when the kids are at school, that we like get distracted with things like our numbers or social media or our email inbox or like any of these things. And then we're frustrated because we didn't actually get anything done. When in reality, what we need to be focusing in on those like CEO creator type of tasks. But I think a big part of that process and why that happens is because we don't have these systems in place to really focus our time and energy. That when we know, like, I sit down to work, I'm in this phase of my cycle, these are the things I'm going to sit and I'm going to focus on, versus trying to like crunch our numbers or try to get on social media or like these things that like suck our time away. It's like those things need to be done, but they're not the biggest priorities. They're not the biggest drivers. So where are the kind of, I guess, some of the things that you see like your clients struggling with? Like when it comes to, I assume that a lot of your women are the same way. They have small windows of time.
Yeah.
They want to get stuff done and they want to become the most effective at that. But yet XYZ comes in the way. So like, what are those biggest hurdles or obstacles that you see a lot of your women struggling with that you and your systems can help with?
Yeah, just knowing that when I sit down to do something like, and I have 15 minutes of time to work on it, like what are the big things that I can do in that time and focus on that will make forward movement in my business, not necessarily the busy work, right? The higher end tasks that need to be done so that you're working more on the business instead of in it. So think about the way you can set up your space, right? So there's a lot of things that you can do. You can do the labels so that you know what cycle phase you're in. You can prioritize, add flags to set a different priority level. So knowing you can do those things, actually doing them. So say putting all your tasks in, it's a great place to brain dump any task that you have to do, sorting those out by needs to be done by you. If there's things that you can delegate, if you have a team member or a family member that's helping you, things like that. And then labeling them to reflect those things. And then when you down to work, also like making sure that you're like setting that timer for yourself, saying like, all right, I have this much time to work, which you can do, right? You can add time estimates to any task that you have and ClickUp to say, this is how much time it's going to take. That doesn't mean that you need to sit and do that task all in one setting, but knowing that this is how much time it's going to take me, you can say, all right, today I have to homeschool my son at this time, and then we're going to have lunch. I'm going to take a lunch break. And then I think I have this pocket of time here after lunch when everybody's, doing an activity, 30 minutes that I have to work on this task. So you can look at the tasks that you have already populated into your ClickUp, see which ones have a 30-minute time estimate or things that you feel like you could break into 30-minute segments and then say, all right, I'm going to work on this. And then I'm going to set this timer. And when I see that this time has elapsed, then I can stop and say, all right, I'm going to take a break. And then if I can come back to this, great. Or if I can continue working on it, that's also great. But you kind of give yourself that visual cue of like, this is the time that I have. This is time that I can allot what I can do right now. But it's still making progress. So it's always about recognizing that you don't have to always finish those tasks in a certain amount of time. You can break them up so that you can work on them in your pockets of time, because that's what we often have, is those pockets of time.
For sure. For sure. Yesterday I had like nothing on my calendar, nothing. I like just with my computer, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so nice to actually have like a solid stretch of time with nothing like breaking it up. But I actually almost found I'm like, my brain had a hard time focusing on certain tasks. Like I was like, okay, I spent, 1 hour doing this group of tasks. And then I was like, I can't do these anymore. I know there's still work to be done on it, but I've got to switch my brain to a different type of task. So I went from like recording audios to then writing emails, and then like not the right phase of my cycle and stuff like that, but my brain needed a little bit of a shifting gears. Like it's amazing how much I've grown accustomed to having like a small window of like an hour between a call to work on something. So it's like getting in, getting out fast. That when I had longer than an hour, I was like, my brain can't focus on this for longer than an hour. It's just kind of a fascinating thing to watch. But I've used ClickUp for a long time, and I hear you talking and I see things you're doing and whatever. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know ClickUp could do that. Or I didn't even know that. And like, I know you and I have working together, like to kind of batch out like a way to use ClickUp to like really batch out content in my podcast and like stuff. Like the ways in which I think I've been using it, I think have been just scratching the surface of the capabilities of what's possible. So what would be like one of the biggest things that you see people using ClickUp like missing? That there may be like, ooh, this would be like a good switch?
I think one of the biggest things right now, actually, and they just made an update to this too, but using the clips that they have in ClickUp.
I don't even know what that is.
That is a replacement for Loom. And so like, again, like you have this video recording feature in the same platform. So if you needed to record for someone on your team about this SOP of whatever they need to do, you can do it right there in that system and they can find it. If you needed to send something to a client explaining something, you can record it right in ClickUp and send it off to them, which I have done. And it's so helpful. And like, I've had clients me videos from inside of with have a question about this. Can you tell me how to do this? And so really great to have that all in one platform. You're not to switch applications, which is also a huge time saver for you, not having to switch between applications, things done. Another thing that I think is really love telling people about is the home screen, just really using that first, like, it's like my command center. Yeah. It's like my command center. Like you can kind of put your like top 3 tasks you have for the day and then have your calendar showing up for you so you can see what type of appointments you have or what things you have on your schedule for the day. You can have a quick list of the tasks that you have scheduled to accomplish that day.
So those are so powerful. And I think like even thinking about all the different things that are in ClickUp, when I hear you talk, I'm like, shoot, I'm missing out on so much that ClickUp has to offer. And like I said, each level of business that we're in is a different level of systemizing and what we're capable of doing. And I know that that's a big goal of mine this year is like refining what I'm putting out there, refining my messaging, refining what I'm doing, but also that looks like refining the back end.
Yeah.
And that so that I can then scale more. And it looks like, how do I do this in the back end? So I know like sometimes it doesn't feel like the sexy stuff.
Right.
Stuff, but like this is the thing that allows us to like get more clients and do more and be able to maximize our time in the most effective way to be able to do that.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, I really feel like your systems can grow with you in ClickUp. Like you can be doing like the surface level stuff that you need to do as you're just starting out as an entrepreneur. But like going into ClickUp, you can do that, but then you can also build it out so that it is accommodating your growth as you become scaled. And if you add in team members, I feel like it's just really a great platform for you to continue to grow in your business and how you're systemizing it. Screen, the clips, 2 of the really big things that I feel like I really try to share with people that maybe they're not utilizing those tools that are within that. I feel like, again, like they're huge time savers. They're really great ways for you to hours in your day, you know?
Yeah. Well, those are 2 that I am not using. So there'll have to be like ones that you'll have to show me and how to use. So This has been so good and so helpful in terms of like how we can actually scale and really get back some of that time without having like a massive team of people that are just doing it all for us. And I think that actually is the better way to do it. Like when we look at building a business, like the more lean that we can make our business and the more effective that we can make ourselves and our team is like the way we increase our profits. And that's the way we
Exactly.
increase like what we're capable of doing is when instead of having like a ton of people that were like, oh my gosh, I'm spending all this money and now I can't do the things that like build it the way I want it. And so I think it's really such a valuable conversation to have. Before we like transition out, I would love just also like, how do you feel like your cycle advantage? I know that's where you started and now being in the Flow Collective, like, how do you feel like this has helped you be able to put this out there? Because when you and I first met and first started, like, you didn't have a business at all. Like, you had an idea and a dream, and you were like, I kind of want to do XYZ. And then that was it. That was all we started with. So, how do you feel like things have shifted and changed for you?
I definitely feel like I have had a shift in just like confidence, trusting in what I have to offer is something that people want. I think would be the big thing that I've gained from being in the program and working with you in the Flow Collective and your Cycle Advantage, because I think those were big roadblocks for me, as just having that fear of failure, but also like fear of success. Like it was a double-edged sword. And I feel like we were able to like talk about those things. We were able to do some of the breath work and kind of like do some of the mindset work to really kind of shift and feelings, and like even in like my body shift some of the stuff that came up with those things. And I feel like that allowed me to make some progress that I've made now, just having those tools at my disposal and just part of your mentorship. So
For sure. What do you feel like it was that made that pivotal transition for you? Anything in particular that you could place it on?
I think a big pivotal moment was, I think that one session we had where we were talking about the bird and how, you are kind of like the one that's carrying us, our birds of everything. And I was like, wow, like being open to that support, right? And getting that help and being okay with that. Cause I think that that's something that as women, sometimes we have a hard time with, being open to accepting help or asking for it when we're struggling with things or don't understand them. And so knowing that this was a safe space for me to come with my questions or the things that I didn't quite know or understand, that I think was huge for me.
Yeah, for sure. So good. Yeah, I remember that. I think it was just like a video or something I had seen on Facebook or Instagram and like brought into the group, and it spurred this whole conversation around it. And I think it's so powerful. Honestly, like I love your Cycle Advantage and I love helping women learn about their body and like learn about that. But it's like these deep conversations and these deep work and sort of business strategy and stuff like is where I really love like hanging out and like really love being able to support women. And I've learned about myself, like I don't desire to have a massively huge program. Like I want to make such a huge impact on a few people. And really amazing to kind of be a part of that and see that for you. So what do you feel like you want to leave people with before we wrap up today?
It's a good one. So I want to tell people that just step out into the thing that you want to do. Trust yourself and trust that what you have to offer is enough for the people that are going to be seeking it out. I think that that's what I would want to leave with people.
Yeah. So good. So good. Where can people find you? Because I know like after this session, people are going to want to know more about how they can use ClickUp. Like I said, I have even been using it forever and I still don't understand all the pieces of it. And like, I'm not utilizing it. So even knowing that, like, even if you are using ClickUp already, like to go get your secret hacks and strategies on like how we can really maximize that, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Ask Detailed Diva. You can also find me on www.detaileddiva.com, and you can grab my for mompreneurs at detaileddiva.com/cheat sheet. Grab that. And then you can always email me hello@detaileddiva.com.
So good. Thank you so much, Ria, for coming on. This was such an amazing episode. Truly, you guys, like I telling Ria, I'm like, I'm going to have you come in and do an overhaul on my ClickUp. And I keep putting it off. It's like the same thing, like one of those things. And then just recently I was like, okay, I need to at least do an hour. Like we got to just get some stuff rolling. So whatever it is, like wherever level you're at in terms of your business, like definitely get ClickUp, check it out, like start integrating it into your system so that you are maximizing on that small pockets of time that you have or the large amounts of time that you have. Like